All right, here we are this week, and we're going to review fractions, all things fractions. I'm going to go pretty quick, but it's going to hit on everything you learned like elementary and up, just to give you a refresher so you're not completely reliant on the calculator, okay? So first of all, what is a fraction? Well, it's just a way to represent something that is incomplete, something that is not whole. And whenever you write a fraction, you do need to stick the part over the whole. So in other words, something like this. We're going to cut this piece of pie into 1, 2, 3, 4 total parts. So since there are 4 that make up the whole shape, that's the number that goes on the bottom. And then whenever you shade just part of it, however many parts are shaded goes on the top. So of course that would be like 1/4 or 1/4, okay? Now, one of the things that you learn early is how to go between a mixed number and something called an improper fraction. So let's cover that first. Okay, a mixed number would be like if you see a picture and I had maybe filled in 2 or 3 of these complete pizzas and then I had another part left over. So if I had 3 holes and then I'm going to say like a 4th left over, okay? So this number is read 3 and 1/4, and this is it as a mixed number because you've mixed how many holes and how many parts, okay? To turn it into an improper fraction, just as a refresher, you take the number on the bottom, you multiply it by the number out front, okay, so we're going to do a little multiply right there. Then whatever that answer is, you're going to add the number on top. So notice I put a multiply down here and an addition symbol up here. So the bottom is 3 times 4, which is 12, and then 12 plus 1, because you add the number on top, is 13. And 13 would be your new numerator, and your denominator just stays whatever it initially was, which in this case is a 4 down here. So 13/4 is the same as 3 and 1/4, okay? All right, so what else? How about reducing fractions? So if you need to reduce, that would be like if I showed you the number 10 over 12, okay? Well, 10/12, that is a legitimate fraction. There are 10 parts out of the 12 that you see, but you can reduce it. So what you do is you look for a number that goes into both of these. And I noticed that both of them are divisible by 2. So a lot of kids are trained to actually write divided by 2, and then you do your math over here. So that would be a 5 over a 6. Now, is there a number that goes into 5 and 6? No, there's not. So guess what? You are finished at that point, okay? So now what about adding fractions, okay? Well, adding fractions becomes really fun. Whenever you have two different fractions, let's say 2/3 plus 5/3, okay? If you have 2 fractions, the key is the denominator, okay? You need these to match, and if they do, all you have to do is recopy that denominator, and then you add the 2 numerators. So I'll show my step there. So that's the same, yay, so you recopy, and then you just 2 plus 5, so 7/3 would be a good answer for that. Now, if the teacher does not like an improper fraction and you have to turn it back into a mixed number, then that is just division, everybody, because the most important thing to ever come out of fractions is it is division. It's the same thing. So this is 7/3, or it's 7 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 7 how many times? Well, 3 goes into 7 twice, and then what's the remainder? Well, the remainder is there's 1 left over, so you put that 1 back over your denominator. So that would be a mixed number. Okay. So what else is there? How about, what if you want to add or subtract 2 fractions and they do not have the same denominator, okay? So what happens in this case is you are not allowed to do anything yet. You have to make these 2 numbers the same. How do you make these 2 numbers the same? Well, you look for a number that they both go into, okay? So I noticed that both of these go into the number 12. So I'm going to change both of the denominators to a 12. Now, what I've done to this number is I have multiplied it by 3 to make that happen, right? Well, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top to be fair. So my new numerator will be a 15 right here. Okay, now what about this other fellow over here? Well, to get from a 3 to a 12, I just multiplied by what? By 4, which means on top, I also need to multiply by 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. Once you get to this step, it's just like the one above. These match, so you recopy it, and then the top is 15 minus 8, which is 7 over 12, and that would be your answer, okay? Multiplying and dividing is actually easier than adding and subtracting. If you want to multiply, let's say 5/6 times maybe 3/5, okay? So if you're multiplying these together, there's a couple of approaches that you could take. Some teachers will tell the kids, and notice I put a dot for multiplication. That is legal, that's legit. You can do the little X if you want. If you have an elementary age kid, they will still use the little X for multiply, but I use a dot. You can still just do top times top, which is what most people teach them. Just multiply across the top, 5 times 3. Multiply across the bottom, 6 times 5 is 30. And then they tell them to try to reduce the answer. Well, what number goes into both 15 and 30? Well, 15 actually goes into 15 and 30, and that would be 1/2, okay? Now, I'm going to recopy this and show you another approach, because you can reduce the fractions early in the problem and get to your answer a little bit quicker. The way you reduce is, we did it above, you either reduce from top to bottom this way, or when you're multiplying, it's legal to go the other way as well. So for instance, when I look at a 5 on top and a 5 on bottom and I know I'm multiplying, well, I'm going to just cancel those, because 5 goes into itself one time and 5 goes into itself one time. And then I'm actually going to look the other way and say, well, 3 and 6, they also have something in common. They have the number 3 in common. So 3 goes into itself once and 3 goes into 6 twice. And after I reduce, then I multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. So this might seem not beneficial, but let me tell you something. If you have a huge string of problems, maybe it's something like that. Okay, if we have a big string of fractions and we're multiplying all 3 of these together, it is not going to be fun to do top times top times top in your head, bottom times bottom times bottom in your head, and then try to reduce. That's going to take you forever. But you can cross reduce, and you can jump across however you want. So this is really cool. So let me show you. Like, look at that 4. This 4, I'm going to cancel out because I see a 16 up here. So one's on bottom and one's on top. So 4 goes into itself once and 4 goes into 16 4 times. Then what I'm going to do is this 3 and this 9. 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. And then what about 2 and 8? 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into 8 4 times, and look at 4 over 4, gone, gone. And what do we have left? The top is 1 times 1 times 1, the bottom is 1 times 3 times 1. And look how quick that was. Alright, cool. So the last thing would be division, or the last thing I'm covering in this video is going to be division, okay? So let's take the same kind of problem we had a second ago, but instead of doing multiply between them, let's do division between them. So we got to be careful here. Do not do that cross-reducing stuff right now. If it's a division in between them, that stuff from up here is not allowed, okay? What you have to do when dividing fractions, there's a little riddle one of my students taught me a long time ago, and I've always stuck with it. When dividing fractions, don't ask why. Flip the second and multiply. Okay? So in other words, you rewrite this. When dividing fractions, don't ask why. Flip the second. So I'm flipping the second fraction. I'm doing the reciprocal. And then I'm going to multiply. So you rewrite it. This is the same thing as this. And once you rewrite it, now you can math it out. Now, I can't reduce this, I can't reduce this, and if I look on the diagonals, those also do not reduce. So I'm going to do top times top, bottom times bottom. And that is my final answer. All right, I hope this helps out. Let me know if there's any popular requests for video of the week, and hopefully this helps you get your kiddo through fractions.